Hey, this is Scott Morgan of morganstudios.com, and today I want to basically jump off the cliff and start showing you guys how to use black notes. I've been avoiding this subject up till now, but I think at this point it's important to understand the fundamental nature of the keyboard and why it's laid out the way it is, and how the notes actually work. This is going to lead us into all sorts of interesting topics like sharps and flats, and chromatics, and intervals, and anyway, let's get started. This might seem kind of strange, but I actually want to start by showing a little bit of guitar. On the piano, I always recommend that musicians learn piano because it makes it so easy to visualize music, but there's actually an aspect of music that's more easily visualized on the guitar. So with that note, I'm going to show you a guitar neck here. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with how a guitar works, but basically you plug a string and the whole string vibrates from way up here down to the bridge. So now what you do is, and I'm using one hand because I'm holding the camera, but if you press down right here in front of this little bar, which is called a fret, it shortens the length of the string, so it raises the pitch, and you can keep on going up like that. And it does that for all the strings, which have different thicknesses. Now, you might think maybe that those are the equivalents of white notes on the keyboard, but in fact they're not. Each one of those is raising up by what we call 1/2 step. And it's exactly the same for any string instruments, although they don't all have these nice little bars that help you get the right pitch. And looking at the guitar, you can see that except that the distance gets shorter as you move up the neck, it is the same musical interval for each of these half steps as you go up. Now, on the piano, they're arranged differently. And they're arranged that way because it makes it easier to play a scale. At least it makes it easier to play the C major scale. On the piano, to play the same thing that I was doing here, it's actually a bit more complicated. You would start here, although my guitar is a little out of tune, so it's not actually the same note. Anyway, you play whatever the next note is going up, including the black notes. So every time I move to the next note, whether it's a black or a white note, it's the same musical interval, which is what we call a 1/2 step. And that idea comes from the fact that most steps on the keyboard, if you're just going by white notes, are whole steps, because you're skipping a note. And then this one actually doesn't have a note in the middle, so this is at half step. So fundamentally this interval between these two notes is different from the interval between E and F. So that's what at the same time makes piano easier to play and makes it a little more complicated in some ways. On guitar, if you want to play a major scale, like if I want to play in C, you have to remember the pattern of whole steps and half steps. So here's like C played with one hand on the guitar. And I remember this is a half step, and that's a half step also. So the piano makes that easier for you, except when you have to go to a different scale. Like if you want to play C sharp, now all of a sudden you have to take this pattern of half steps and whole steps and translate them starting with this note. So like, that's a whole step, that's a whole step, and then we know the next note is a half step, so we go. And you may not have followed that right now, but it follows the exact same pattern that the white notes follow. And if you analyze this pattern that the white notes follow, you could figure out any major scale that's equivalent to C on the entire keyboard. That's actually how I learned my major scales. I didn't learn it by some teacher beating me over the head saying, G major has one sharp, G major has one sharp. You know, I haven't explained what a sharp is yet, but that's basically the way they teach you to play, maybe without the screaming, but to play scales, where I think it's so much more cool if you figure it out on your own and explore it. It's just a much more inspiring way to learn to me. Anyway, so I'll explain what a sharp is now. A sharp is basically when you have a note, well, let's not use that one, like a G, and you want a G sharp, you go up 1/2 step. So the G sharp is this note right here, and a flat is the exact opposite. That's when you go down 1/2 step from whatever note you're on. So that's a G flat. Now, that holds true even if the note is not a black note. So, and this is kind of a weird case, but like here's an F, and what's an F flat? Well, actually an F flat is an E. And believe me, that actually does come up sometimes. I won't explain why right now, but so there are notes that have multiple names. Like this note is simultaneously a G sharp because it's one above G, and it's also an A flat because it's one below the A. Now, what a sharp looks like is the number sign, and I have some sheet music that happens to be on the piano, some Disney for my daughter. So this note right here is on the treble clef. You can see back here. So that note is a D, which is this D right here, but we put a sharp on it, which looks like a number sign. So that means we go up 1/2 step. So on the piano, we go up 1/2 step, and that's a D sharp. So that's how that's written. Now a flat looks like a lowercase b. Let me see if I can find a flat on this paper. We can just pretend. Let's say that G right there, sorry about that, has a flat on it. I'm talking about this one. So we'd find that note and go down 1/2 step. They actually do have some flats in here. I haven't explained about key signatures, but that's what a flat looks like. And that's what that's telling you is we just had a key change. We went to F, and they're saying that every time you play a B from now on, it's going to be flat. So this note right here, that B right there is going to be flat because it's implicitly flat because we're in F now. So every time we see a B, it's going to be automatically flat. At the beginning of the piece here, these are called key signatures. They're saying that every F and every C are going to be sharped. So like this F is actually implicitly an F sharp. That's actually a C sharp. Okay, so let's just go through what we call the chromatic scale. And that is going through every single note on the keyboard. And remember, there's multiple ways to call these. So going up, I'm going to call them sharps, and going down, I'm going to call them flats. But either way, it's the exact same scale. Just like you're playing on a guitar, going up a single fret at a time. So here we go. C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, which is also E sharp, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, and C again, which is also B sharp, by the way. So now let's go down. C, B, B flat, A flat, G, G flat, F, E, which is actually F flat also, by the way, E flat, D, D flat, C. So that's the chromatic scale. Thanks.